Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the command deck of the TSS Nighthawk, Earth's most advanced stealth vessel, watching the alien armada approach through the holographic display. After 15 years of preparation, humanity's greatest deception was about to be tested. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "Zekaran Fleet maintaining approach vector, Admiral," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station. 37 capital ships, exactly as our deep space sensors predicted. Their energy signatures suggest they're running weapons hot. Chen allowed herself a small smile. For decades, humanity had intercepted and analyzed Zekaran communications, studying their technology and culture from afar. Everything they'd learned confirmed their initial assessment: the Zekarans were conquerors who offered protection to primitive species, turning them into vassal states through a combination of technological intimidation and false diplomacy. "They're scanning us now," Rodriguez continued. "Our masking systems are working perfectly. All they're seeing is what we want them to see: a handful of primitive defensive satellites and a few early-generation warp ships. Earth had discovered the Zekarans long before they found Earth. That early warning had given humanity the precious gift of time to prepare, to advance, to hide their true capabilities behind a carefully constructed facade of technological inferiority. "They're hailing us," Communications Officer Park announced. "Standard first contact protocols, just as our intelligence suggested." "On screen," Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. The holographic display shifted to show a tall, ethereal being with iridescent skin and 4 arms. High Commander Vexthor of the Zekaran Imperium, their intelligence had named him. His bioluminescent markings pulsed with barely contained superiority. "Greetings, people of Earth," the alien spoke, their translator converting the crystalline sounds into smooth English. "We have been observing your species' first fumbling steps into the cosmos with great interest." Chen bowed slightly, playing her role perfectly. "We are honored by your presence, High Commander. I am Admiral Chen of the Terran Space Force." "Yes, well," Vexthor's upper arms moved in what their intelligence suggested was a gesture of dismissal, "your species has finally managed to achieve faster-than-light travel, however primitive your methods may be. The Imperium has decided it's time to welcome you into the galactic community." Behind Chen, her crew maintained their carefully crafted appearance of awe and nervousness. None of them betrayed any sign that humanity's true FTL capabilities had surpassed Zekaran technology decades ago. "We are grateful for the Imperium's recognition," Chen responded, adding just the right touch of eagerness to her voice. "Our people have so much to learn." Indeed, Vexthor's bioluminescence flickered with amusement. "Your species will be granted protectorate status within the Imperium. We will guide your development, manage your resources, and ensure you don't accidentally destroy yourselves with technology beyond your understanding." Chen allowed her expression to shift to one of concern. "Protectorate status? I'm afraid I don't have the authority to make such decisions. Our planetary council would need to." "Perhaps I should be more clear," Vexthor interrupted, his patterns now pulsing with harsh reds. "This is not a negotiation. Without our protection, you would inevitably encounter species far less benevolent than ourselves. Accept our generous offer, or face the consequences of rejection." Chen's crew tensed, but she maintained her facade of diplomatic concern. "High Commander, please understand I must consult with Earth's leadership. We've never encountered a situation like this." "Very well," Vexthor conceded with obvious disdain. "You have one planetary rotation to communicate with your leaders. We will expect your acceptance by then." The transmission cut off abruptly. Chen waited exactly 3 seconds before activating the quantum entanglement communicator hidden beneath layers of primitive electronics. "Control, this is Nighthawk. Operation Trojan Horse is proceeding exactly as projected. Zekaran forces have made contact and delivered their ultimatum." The response came instantly, bypassing all conventional detection methods. "Understood, Nighthawk. Ghost Fleet is in position. Continue as planned." Their arrogance will be their undoing. Chen looked at her crew, no longer hiding their true capability and training. Send the coded signal to all our hidden installations. It's time to show the galaxy why humanity spent decades hiding our true strength. As the Zekran warships loomed outside, none of their advanced sensors detected the quantum ripples spreading through space, the wake of hundreds of stealth vessels moving into position. Earth's Ghost Fleet, led by the TSS Shadowblade, was about to reveal why you should never mistake patience for weakness. The real first contact war was about to begin, and the Zekrans had no idea they'd already lost. Admiral James Harper stood on the bridge of the TSS Shadowblade, watching the quantum display as hundreds of stealth vessels emerged from their dimensional pockets. Each ship represented the pinnacle of human ingenuity, hidden away for this very moment. Ghost Fleet status, he commanded, neural interface pulsing with data streams from every vessel under his command. All ships reporting combat ready, Admiral, Captain Maya Patel's voice echoed through the quantum network. Gravitic shields at maximum capacity. Particle lances primed. The Zekrans still haven't detected our presence. The Shadowblade's bridge hummed with contained energy. Unlike the crystalline technology of the Zekrans, humanity had developed something far more fundamental, gravity manipulation technology that didn't just bend space but rewrote its rules entirely. Signal from the Nighthawk, Lieutenant Park announced. Admiral Chen reports the Zekrans are growing impatient. They're charging weapons. Harper smiled grimly. Right on schedule. Begin Phase 1. Through the quantum network, his orders transmitted instantly. 100 stealth vessels, each one more advanced than anything the Zekrans had ever encountered, moved into precise formation around the alien armada. Sir, Maya reported, the Zekran flagship is powering up their main crystal cannon. They're targeting Admiral Chen's position. Let them fire, Harper ordered. The Nighthawk knows what to do. On the quantum display, they watched as the Zekran dreadnought unleashed a devastating beam of crystalline energy at what appeared to be Earth's defensive fleet. The beam passed harmlessly through holographic projections. Holographic fleet maintaining integrity, Park confirmed. The real ships were never there. Harper straightened his uniform. Open a channel to High Commander Vexthor. It's time to show them what they're really dealing with. The Zekran leader's face appeared on the quantum display, his bioluminescent patterns still glowing with superiority. That was about to change. What trickery is this? Vexthor demanded. Your primitive vessels. I am Admiral James Harper of the Terran Ghost Fleet, Harper interrupted, his voice carrying absolute authority. Those primitive vessels were projections, just like humanity's apparent technological level for the past 3 decades. As he spoke, the Shadowblade and its escort ships dropped their quantum stealth fields. The Zekrans watched in shock as hundreds of advanced warships materialized around them, their black holes seeming to absorb both light and hope. Impossible, Vexthor whispered, his patterns now pulsing with fear. Your species, you couldn't have hidden this. But we did, Harper replied. While you watched our fumbling steps into space, we studied you. While you planned to enslave us, we prepared to fight you. And while you assumed we were primitive, we surpassed you. All ships, combat stations, Harper commanded over the fleet channel. The Zekrans came expecting to find sheep. Show them they've stumbled into a den of wolves. The Ghost Fleet's first volley demonstrated exactly why humanity had chosen to hide their true capabilities. Gravitic lances, weapons that temporarily increased the force of gravity by a factor of thousands within a precise area, carved through Zekran shields as if they didn't exist. Their crystalline hulls, supposedly impervious to conventional weapons, shattered under forces they were never designed to withstand. Your ships are surrounded, Harper informed Vexthor. Your weapons are useless against our gravitic shields. You have 2 choices, surrender, or be destroyed. You dare. Vexthor's patterns flashed with rage. We are the Zekran Imperium. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. And you've never faced humanity, Harper responded. A species that chose to appear weak while growing strong. That turned patience into a weapon. That watched and learned and prepared, all while you congratulated yourselves on finding another easy target. The Zekran fleet tried to fight back. Their crystal cannons fired, their fighter craft launched, their shields blazed with energy. But against humanity's hidden technologies, gravity manipulation, quantum phasing, neural-linked combat systems, they might as well have been throwing stones at a tsunami. Within 20 minutes, 35 of the 37 Zekran capital ships were either destroyed or disabled. Only the flagship and one escort remained, their weapons silent, their once proud crews watching in shock as their supposedly inferior opponents dismantled their fleet with casual ease. Now then, Harper said to Vexthor, shall we discuss the terms of your surrender? And after that, perhaps we should talk about all those other species you've been protecting. I think they might be interested in learning about some of humanity's advancements. The message was clear, humanity hadn't just defeated a Zekran fleet, they had shattered the foundation of an empire. And they had done it not through brute force alone, but through patience, deception, and the careful application of overwhelming force at precisely the right moment. The age of Zekran dominance was over. The era of humanity had begun. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the quantum laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching as her team made final adjustments to Project Phoenix. After the Ghost Fleet's dramatic reveal and initial victory, the Zekrans had rallied their forces from across their empire. Now, 3 months later, humanity needed every advantage they could get. Quantum entanglement field stable at 99.9%, Dr. Rodriguez announced, his hands dancing across holographic controls. The harvested void energy is containing properly this time. Sarah nodded, examining the readings herself. What they were attempting had never been done before, creating a weapon that could target the fundamental forces holding spacetime together. The Zekrans relied heavily on their crystalline technology, they were about to learn why that was a mistake. Message from Fleet Command, Lieutenant Park's voice came through the quantum comm, the Zekran reinforcement fleet has been detected. Over 300 capital ships approaching from multiple vectors. They still think numbers will save them, Sarah murmured. Status of the deployment platforms? Maya Patel, now heading the tactical integration team, brought up a holographic display of Earth's defense grid. All Phoenix platforms are in position and cloaked. The Zekrans won't detect them until it's too late. The laboratory hummed with tension as final preparations were made. Project Phoenix wasn't just a weapon, it was humanity's answer to the question of how to fight an empire that spanned hundreds of worlds. The Zekrans had numbers and resources, but humanity had something far more valuable, innovation. Multiple fold space signatures detected, Park announced. Zekran fleet emerging from FTL, now. The holographic display lit up with hundreds of enemy signatures. The Zekrans had brought their finest ships, their most advanced technology, and their most experienced commanders. Their formation was perfect, designed to counter the tactics humanity had used in the first battle. They've learned, Maya observed. But they're still thinking conventionally. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. That's because they still don't understand what they're really fighting. Initiate Project Phoenix. Across Earth's orbital space, dozens of cloaked platforms activated simultaneously. The quantum entanglement field they generated was invisible to conventional sensors, but its effects were anything but subtle. Within the field, the very forces holding matter together began to change. The Zekran fleet's crystalline hulls, the pride of their engineering, began to resonate at frequencies they were never designed to handle. The quantum field excited their molecular bonds, causing cascade failures throughout their ships. By all the stars, one of the technicians whispered, watching the display. It's actually working. The Zekran fleet's formation began to break apart as ships lost power and control. Their crystal-based technology, which had served them so well for centuries, was becoming their greatest weakness. The quantum field didn't just disable their ships, it turned their own technology against them. Message from Admiral Harper, Park announced. Ghost fleet moving to engage. The human fleet emerged from quantum stealth, their black hulls absorbing the light from dying Zekran ships. But this time, they weren't just fighting with superior technology, they were fighting with understanding. Every shot was precisely calculated, every maneuver designed to herd the enemy into positions where Project Phoenix could do the most damage. They're trying to adapt, Maya reported, watching the tactical display. Some ships are attempting to modify their crystal matrices to resist the quantum field. Too late, Sarah replied. The field is already affecting the fundamental forces within their ships. They'd need to completely redesign their technology from the ground up to counter this. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the greatest fleet the Zekran Imperium had ever assembled lay in ruins, their mighty ships reduced to drifting hulks by forces they couldn't even detect, let alone fight. Incoming transmission, Park announced. It's from the Zekran High Command. The holographic display shifted to show a group of Zekran leaders, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with a mixture of fear and disbelief. Their spokesperson's voice trembled as they delivered their message. To the leaders of humanity, we request terms for immediate cessation of hostilities. Sarah exchanged glances with her team. This wasn't just a victory, it was a fundamental shift in the balance of power. Humanity hadn't just defeated the Zekrans, they had proven that centuries of technological advancement could be overcome by innovation and unconventional thinking. Should we accept their surrender? Maya asked quietly. Sarah looked at the display, where hundreds of dead Zekran ships drifted in space. We'll accept their surrender, she said firmly. But first, they're going to learn about all the species they've been protecting all these years. It's time for the galaxy to understand that technological superiority doesn't always mean advancement. The quantum laboratory erupted in cheers, but Sarah remained focused on the displays. This victory wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they were capable of, and nothing would ever be the same. Admiral Harper stood in the newly established Terran Command Center on what had once been the Zekran capital world of Crystallos, watching holographic displays of Imperial worlds erupting in rebellion. 3 months after Project Phoenix had shattered the Zekran fleet, humanity's true masterpiece was unfolding, not through force of arms, but through the careful application of truth. Another sector declaring independence, Maya reported, now serving as Harper's strategic advisor. The Centaurian Alliance is already requesting Earth's protection against Zekran retaliation. Harper nodded, studying the spreading pattern of rebellion across the galactic map. And the information packets? Spreading faster than the Zekrans can contain them, Dr. Chen added, her quantum communications network proving more effective than anyone had anticipated. Every subjugated species is learning how the Zekrans held them back, prevented their natural development by forcing dependency on crystalline technology. The truth was humanity's most powerful weapon. After defeating the Zekran fleet, they hadn't simply occupied their worlds, they had released centuries of suppressed historical data. Every species under Zekran protection was learning how their development had been artificially stunted, their innovation suppressed, their potential denied. Incoming transmission from the Arcturus sector, Lieutenant Park announced. The Meridian species are requesting our assistance. They've discovered their crystalline technology was deliberately designed with limitations. Harper allowed himself a grim smile. The Zekrans hadn't just conquered through military might, they had enslaved through technological dependence. Every piece of technology they shared with their protectorate species had been carefully designed to prevent independent advancement. Show them what we found in the Imperial archives, Harper ordered. Let them see how the Zekrans altered their own historical records to hide their own past failures and struggles with technological development. The holographic displays shifted, showing countless worlds receiving and sharing information that the Zekrans had suppressed for centuries. Species that had thought themselves naturally inferior were learning that their development had been artificially hindered. Races that believed they needed Zekran protection were discovering they had been deliberately weakened. Sir, Maya interrupted, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the remaining Zekran strongholds. They appear to be activating some kind of emergency protocol. Project Ascendance, Dr. Chen said quietly, reviewing the data. According to the files we decrypted, it's their ultimate failsafe. They're planning to synchronize all their remaining crystalline technology into some kind of unified network. Harper's expression hardened. They still don't understand. Lieutenant Park, broadcast on all frequencies, all languages. The communications officer nodded, and Harper addressed not just the rebelling worlds, but the remaining Zekran leadership. To all species of the former Zekran Imperium, we've detected the activation of Project Ascendance. The Zekrans believe that by unifying their crystalline technology, they can reassert control. What they haven't realized is that this is exactly what we've been waiting for. He nodded to Dr. Chen, who activated a sequence that had been prepared since before the first battle. Every piece of quantum technology humanity had, accidentally, allowed to fall into Zekran hands during the conflict began activating, spreading through their unified network like a virus through a bloodstream. Your crystalline technology was never superior, Harper continued. It was simply different. But in your arrogance, you believed different meant better. You forgot the most fundamental law of warfare, know your enemy. While you watched our apparent stumbling steps into space, we were studying every aspect of your civilization. The holographic displays showed Zekran systems across the galaxy going dark as their unified network collapsed, their carefully maintained technological superiority unraveling in minutes. We could have simply destroyed you, Harper explained, his voice carrying to every world in the former Imperium. Instead, we chose to free you. Not just from Zekran control, but from the limitations they placed on your development. Maya brought up another display, showing the quantum technology packages that were being distributed to former Protectorate worlds. Not weapons or tools, but knowledge, the fundamental principles that would allow each species to develop their own technological path. The age of enforced dependency is over, Harper declared. Humanity doesn't seek to replace the Zekrans as your overlords. We offer something far more valuable, the freedom to choose your own path, develop your own technology, and join the galactic community as equals. The response was beyond even their most optimistic projections. Across the galaxy, species that had been enemies under Zekran rule began reaching out to each other, sharing discoveries and innovations that had been suppressed for generations. They're not just accepting our help, Dr. Chen observed, watching the data streams. They're already improving on our designs, adapting them to their own unique characteristics and needs. Harper nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. That's exactly what we hoped for. The Zekrans tried to create an empire of dependence. We're creating something far more powerful, a galaxy of innovation. The art of deception was complete. Humanity hadn't just defeated an empire, they had transformed it, turning centuries of oppression into an opportunity for unprecedented growth and cooperation. 5 years after the fall of the Zekran Imperium, Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching representatives from over 50 formerly subjugated species gather for the first Galactic Cooperation Summit. The massive space station, built through the combined efforts of 20 different species, represented everything humanity had fought for. Hard to believe it's been 5 years, Admiral Harper said, joining her at the viewport. His uniform now bore the insignia of the Terran Diplomatic Corps rather than the Fleet Command. Harder to believe how much has changed, Sarah replied, gesturing to the ships docked around the station. Each vessel was unique, representing the technological path its species had chosen after being freed from Zekran control. Look at the Meridian ships, they've completely reimagined space travel using quantum biology principles we never even considered. The station's quantum sensors detected a new arrival, a crystalline vessel, but unlike any seen before. The new Zekran government, what remained of it after their empire's collapse, had been invited to the summit as equals rather than rulers. Latest reports from the development zones are even more promising, Maya Patel added, joining them with a data tablet. She now headed the interspecies technology exchange. The Arcturus species have combined their natural photosynthetic abilities with quantum engineering. They're terraforming dead worlds in months instead of centuries. The observation deck filled with delegates as the summit's opening ceremony approached. Species that had once been bitter enemies under Zekaran rule now work together, each contributing their unique perspectives and abilities to solve problems that had once seemed insurmountable. Message from the Centaurian delegation, Lieutenant Park announced, his communications role now extending to all member species. They're ready to present their findings on dimensional engineering. Sarah smiled, remembering how the Centaurians had been considered primitive by the Zekarans due to their different approach to technology. Now, their insights into dimensional mechanics were revolutionizing space travel. The last of the holdout Zekaran military commanders surrendered this morning, Harper informed them quietly. They finally realized there's no going back to the old ways. The station's quantum network hummed with activity as more delegates arrived. Each species maintained its own technological path while contributing to a shared pool of knowledge. Unity through diversity, the exact opposite of the Zekarans' forced homogeneity. It's time, Maya announced as the station's central chamber filled with representatives. Sarah took her position at the podium, looking out at the gathered species. Some humanoid, some crystalline, some energy-based, some defying easy classification, all equal, all free to develop in their own way. 5 years ago, she began, her words translated simultaneously into 50 different languages. Humanity revealed itself to the galaxy not just as a military power, but as a catalyst for change. We showed that true strength lies not in forcing others to follow your path, but in allowing each species to find their own way forward. The holographic displays showed the incredible advances made since the Zekaran Empire's fall. Worlds once stripped bare by crystal mining were being restored. Species once held back were making breakthrough discoveries. The galaxy was transforming in ways no single species could have achieved alone. The Zekarans believed that progress could only follow one path, their path, Sarah continued. They forgot that the universe thrives on diversity, on different approaches and perspectives. They forgot that true advancement comes not from control, but from cooperation. She gestured to the Zekaran representatives, who no longer displayed the bioluminescent patterns of superiority, but rather those of equality in mutual respect. Today, we take the next step forward. Not as rulers and subjects, not as advanced and primitive, but as equals. Each species contributing its unique strengths, each following its own path while working together for the benefit of all. The chamber erupted in approval, each species expressing joy in their own way. Energy beings pulsed with bright colors, crystalline forms resonated with harmonic frequencies, organic species cheered or sang or generated pheromones of happiness. Humanity's greatest victory, Harper observed quietly, wasn't in defeating the Zekarans. It was in showing the galaxy a better way forward. As the celebration continued, Sarah watched the various species interacting, sharing ideas, forming bonds that would have been impossible under the old regime. They had done more than win a war, they had transformed an empire of control into a galaxy of cooperation. No more deception, she agreed. No more hiding. Just different species working together, each in their own way, toward a future that's greater than any of us could achieve alone. The victory through unity wasn't just a moment in time, it was the beginning of a new era. An era where diversity was strength, where different paths led to shared progress, and where humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't their technology or their military might, but their vision of what was possible when species worked together as equals.